Hey guys, tis I, Hellhound, your guide for all things brutal. What are we gonna do today? Yes, the big four of thrash metal: Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth. And in this video, we're gonna take a look at their debut albums. How exciting! Yeah, the ones that started it all. Some bands didn't find their sound until later albums, and some didn't improve all that much past their very first. So let's take a look. Which one's best, which is second best, and so on. I'm going to rank them, analyze them, and explain my reasoning. Getting tongue-tied already, and the video isn't even past the 1 minute mark. And yeah, this is all my opinion, of course. But anyway, I already talked about some of these albums in my top 5 favorite bands videos, so I might repeat myself a little bit. But, well, my personal favorite, Big Four debut, is definitely Kill 'Em All. Yep. It's by far my favorite Metallica album, with, Ride the Lightning in a close second. And, also one of my favorite thrash records, period. There's not a bad song on this album. And I can listen to it front and back, without ever skipping over any tracks, which I often find myself doing with other Metallica releases. Just an angry and brutal thrashter piece all the way through. James Hetfield's vocals sounded the most metal here, with his and Kirk Hammett's guitars complementing the passionate rhythms of bassist Cliff Burton, rest in peace, and drummer Lars Ulrich flawlessly. Sorry. But yeah, Whiplash, Hit the Lights, The Four Horsemen, Seek and Destroy, Phantom Lord, Into the Fire, Jump at the Fire, sorry, and all the rest. Just hellish and insanely aggressive thrash anthems that never fail to get me pumped. Did I mention Seek and Destroy? So amazing. I really have to wonder, though, how Kill 'Em All would have turned out without Dave Mustaine's influence, as he did co-write some of the best songs that are found here before he was kicked out of the band and replaced by Kirk Hammett, who just came from Exodus. Would this album still been just as great without Dave's songs? Guess we'll never know. Some consider him the godfather of thrash metal. He invented the genre, according to some, and I wouldn't be so quick to dispute that, honestly. As for my second favorite, that would be Show No Mercy by Slayer, which also happens to be my favorite Slayer album. Whoops. Yes, even next to Rain and Blood, still my favorite. Guitarists Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman just tear it up here with their shredding riffs and wailing solos. They probably deliver one of the most brutal twin guitar attacks of any thrash album ever. Back in the 80s, hardly anyone can even come close to Kerry and Jeff. Rest in peace, Jeff Hanneman. The band will never be the same without you. And as much as I adore the guitar skills of Gary Holt from Exodus, who now serves as Jeff's replacement, it will never quite be the Slayer I know and love. But anyway, back to Show No Mercy. Tom Arai's vocals were also at their most evil sounding here. And back then he truly was the voice of hell. All those insane screams and high notes he was able to hit back in those days were superb. He sounded like a pissed off demon. It's kind of sad that his voice has since declined and been reduced to mostly yelling with little emotion, but oh well, he still shines on this debut and, the next 4 albums, and he'll always be the only frontman for Slayer. Dear God, I'm getting tongue-tied. I know he always puts his best into everything he does. He's a great bass player as well. Oh yeah. Dave Lombardo's drumming is also a perfect fit, and he's always been my favorite metal drummer for good reason. Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, this album is truly an essential thrash masterpiece that never fails to fill me with pure, venomous metal fury. I can never get tired of blasting the Antichrist, or Die by the Sword, or Black Magic, or Tormentor. Oh yeah, this fucking slays. And, well, my third favorite would honestly be Fistful of Metal by Anthrax. I know. It's sacrilege to place Megadeth last, and while Killing Is My Business, and Business Is Good, is a good thrash album, quite possibly the angriest, I just can't barely hear anything but "Arrgh, kill Metallica, they must die, ah!" on most of the tracks, which could be considered a good thing as well. The production kind of sucks on that CD too. I hate how they butchered the cover song "These Boots" in the remastered version, though of course that wasn't Dave's fault by any means. I'm not saying Fistful of Metal is a whole lot better, but I think Neil Turbid is a much better vocalist than Dave. Joey Belladonna was an improvement, probably a better fit for Anthrax, despite not really being a metal musician prior to that, and basically being a newcomer to the genre. But Neil had a great thrash voice on their debut. His high-pitched screams are simply phenomenal. Death Rider and Metal Thrashing Mad are pure metal and no doubt kick your ass every time you listen. Neil was kind of sloppy and all over the place, though. He seemed like he had kind of trouble controlling his pitch, shifting the tone of his voice, but he was certainly talented. But I think kicking him out and replacing him with Joey, probably a superior vocalist, was definitely the right thing to do for Scotty Ian and company. I would say that Anthrax has always had the best vocals of all four bands, in my opinion. I think they figured having somebody with pipes like Halford or Dickinson mixed with thrash was, kind of what I think that kind of made them unique. Other thrash bands just had, I think they just kind of sat around and said, "Who wants to sing? You do it." Pointed to the bassist or the rhythm guitarist, and they just kind of go, "Ah!" They had really aggressive vocals, which fit thrash metal perfectly. But I think Anthrax is one of the things I admire about them most is they had mostly really clean, melodic, more operatic vocals, and I think they fit them very nicely. And they're probably the least popular band of the big four, and I think they're actually quite underrated in comparison to the others. This album also featured original bassist and founding member Dan Lilker before he was replaced by Frank Bello, who would remain as part of the core line of the band along with Scotty Ian and drummer Charlie Benante. Lead guitarist Dan Spitz, who's probably my least favorite of all the lead players in these four bands, but still most definitely very talented. He'd stayed throughout the 80s, but ended up leaving once the band completely changed itself into a grunge-like Pantera clone with John Bush from Armored Saint on vocals and a very groove metal influenced sound. That's a story for another time. Back then, Scotty Ian's band, dear God, was truly a force to be reckoned with. I'm not knocking Dan Spitz. Just look who he has to compete with. Kirk Hammett, Dave Mustaine, friggin' Jeff Hanneman, Marty Friedman. I mean, come on. Anyway, I love Anthrax. I think they're underrated. And I think this is a pretty damn good album. And yes, Killing Is My Business is still a solid album, but I think Megadeth didn't really find themselves until the next record, Peace Sells, which also contained the same musicians as this one. My favorite Megadeth lineup was by far when Marty Friedman was on lead guitar and Nick Menzel was on drums. That began on Rust in Peace and continued for a few records after that. This album definitely did contain my second favorite lineup. The one in this one in Peace Sells, who's buying. Which of course is Dave Mustaine, the founder of the band, fresh out of Metallica on lead vocals and guitar, Chris Poland on guitar, David Ellefson on drums, and David Ellefson on bass, and Gar Samus on drums. I'm going to redo this fucking video. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. David Ellefson on bass and Gar Samuelson on drums. Jesus. Sorry. This isn't turning out as well as I expected, but anyway, as I said, the next album was a huge improvement, but there's still some gems to be found on here. The opening track, Last Rites, starts out with an intricate little piano intro before the guitar comes in, and comes blasting in and just takes the song in an extremely heavy direction, which never really lets up throughout the entire album. Yeah, we have a very angry, frustrated, and hate-filled recording here. You know, Megadeth hardly ever plays any of these songs live, if at all. Probably because they are outrageous and over-the-top structures and somewhat immature lyrics. The vocals, never Dave's strong point, sound amateurish and barely audible at all, or decipherable. And the arrangements are a little sloppy, but you can tell they're all young and out for blood and just, ready to take over the world, which they did later. And people watching this video might think, oh, you're not a big Anthrax, Megadeth fan, are you? But, on the contrary. This album is, for sure, the band's most raw and primal offering. I love Megadeth, but when it comes to debuts, it has to be my least favorite in comparison to the other three. But there's still some good tunes here. Mechanics, of course, being a reworking of the Four Horsemen off of this, which Dave wrote. There's Metallica. Oh, yeah, some handsome guys there. Rattlehead tells the origin story of the band's mascot, Vic Rattlehead, who's cool as hell. Almost as cool as Iron Man's Eddie. Almost. There he is. This is actually the different artwork than the original release. This is close to what Dave wanted. The original was just Combat Records, just put like some weird looking skull and tried to make it look like Vic Rattlehead, but it was kind of lame. And they had the Megadeth in like cursive, a pink logo. Pink letters in cursive, looked nothing like the Megadeth logo. It was really terrible. I actually really prefer this art, definitely. But this remastered version pisses me off, as I said, what they did to these boots. But it does contain some bonus tracks, some of the rough demo recordings of some of the songs. Rest in peace, Gar Samuelson and Nick Menza, the two best drummers Dave Mustaine had in his arsenal, are also no longer with us. But yeah, I still recommend this album. Don't get me wrong. Definitely check out his autobiography, simply titled Mustaine, for more info on the band. I love reading about bands when they first starting out and first putting, all the members together and, in the early days. And, plus reading about him being in Metallica and being kicked out and stuff. It was also an interesting read. Definitely check it out. Here. Mustaine. If you're a Megadeth fan, this is a must-read. Definitely give it a read. Maybe I'll review it here at some point. Speaking of Anthrax, you should also check out Scott Ian's autobiography, I'm the Man. This details a long history of Anthrax. They went through so many lineup changes. Explains that Joey Belladonna was first kicked out and replaced by John Bush. And, a lot of the problems they had along the way. I love reading autobiographies. It's like one of my favorite things ever. We need one for Metallica and one for Slayer as well. I'm sure there's several books on each band, but, it needs to be written by one of the members. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But until then, I have to settle for those. And they're really good, so... But yeah, that's my take on the big four thrash metal debut albums. Oh yeah, gotta love them. Alright, well, I'm Hellhound. Thank you for watching my video. Maybe next time we'll tackle the sophomore albums of the big four. Until then, keep it metal.